What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a pine tree. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take my ruler and draw a line down the center of my page, and this is going to be my line of symmetry. Okay, now I'm going to construct an oval on this line somewhere close to the bottom, because we're going to make a cone shape, and a cone shape has a circle base. But the way we're going to see this pine tree, it's going to have an oval at the bottom. Oval base. Like this. And make sure that's symmetrical, because again, this is a line of symmetry. Okay? And now we're going to pick a point somewhere at the top. Like I'm going to draw a little dash up here. Okay? And now we're going to connect this point on this oval and this point on this oval. We're going to connect those 2 points with this point here at the top that we just made on our line of symmetry. And we're going to use our ruler to do that. So just line it up with the 2 points. Draw a line. Do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. Now we have a cone shape. Now right below our cone shape, we're going to draw a cylinder. And that's going to be like the wood part of the tree. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Just a cylinder at the bottom. You don't have to go through and draw a whole base like we did up here. You don't have to do any of that. But just draw a cylinder at the bottom like that. Okay? And now anywhere along this cone shape, we can divide it into 3 or more different parts for the leaves. So I'm going to draw a little dash right here, a dash right here, and a dash right here. So I divided this cone shape into 4 parts. They don't have to be equal parts, but again, you can do that with 3, 4, 5, or 6 parts. That's up to you. But in my drawing, I'm going to divide it into 4 parts. Okay, and now I'm going to begin to cut this cone shape into 4 parts. Not exactly cut it, but draw lines like this. And then if those lines seem off compared to the base, you can just either fix the base or fix those lines. That's up to you. So in my case, I'm just going to fix the base. Yeah, so that way everything lines up right. And now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to somewhat erase these lines. Like that. So now you can barely see the lines that I made. So now with my ink pen, what I'm going to do is start at the top, but instead of making it pointed like how it is right now, I'm actually going to make that curved like that. And then I'm going to make a line that follows the contours of the cone. Then I'm just going to come off of that stopping point that we made. And then I'm just going to draw a couple of jagged lines like this for the leaves. But I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I'm just going to do it close to the edges. So I'm going to do that with the next section. Fall off. And just draw a couple of jagged lines like this. Okay? Do the same thing to the next section. Jagged lines and stop. And then jagged lines. But since this is the bottom of the cone, we can make jagged lines going all the way to the other edge. So just gonna do just that. Just a couple of zigzag lines. I'm just lifting my pencil off the page and doing it over again. These lines don't have to be super precise. Look at mine. But just keep going with it. Like that. And now let's do the same thing on the other side. So follow the contours, fall off, jagged lines, and stop. I'm just going to continue until I get all the way to the bottom. And then that's it. And then I'm just going to draw a couple jagged lines in the middle, kind of where these sections and our line of symmetry intersect. Like that. And then, let me take a smaller pen for this. I'm gonna take another pen. This is a smaller brush pen. I'm just gonna add a couple more of these jagged lines along the tree. Just here and there. Show that there is a lot of leaves on this tree. And for this part, it doesn't have to be symmetrical, so you can go crazy with these lines if you want. Just a couple lines indicating the leaves on the tree. Add a couple of dots here and there, small and big leaves. Okay, but we're not done yet. We got this bottom part to draw. So before we get to drawing that, I'm gonna add a couple jagged lines at the bottom of it, because this tree is sitting on ground. So a couple jagged lines like that for grass. I'm actually going to add some jagged lines behind it too, like that. And then we can begin to draw the cylinder shape. Like that. And then a couple of lines for the texture of the tree. Texture of the bark. And just like that, we have a pine tree. So what I'm gonna do now is take this drawing, add some color, finalize it, and come back to you guys and show you what that looks like. So let's go. Alright, and there you go. That's how you draw a pine tree. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to create a custom color palette from just about any image in Adobe Illustrator. So as you can see, I have Illustrator up and running, and on my document you can see that I have an image of the Aurora Borealis. And if you take a look at this image, you can see that there's several different colors here. Like right here, there's some dark blue, and over here, some pinkish purples, and then some sort of like aquamarine or tealish colors. And close to the bottom, you can see that there's some dark greens or any other colors that are close to black. So what I'll be doing in this video is showing you guys how to generate a color palette from this image specifically. So let's get started. So the first thing that I gotta do is create some shapes at the bottom of my canvas, so that way I have a place to put my colors when I go to select them. So I'm gonna go over here to my rectangle tool, which is right here. And what I'm gonna do is create just a white rectangle at the bottom of my canvas, like so. Alright, but like I was just stating, there's several different colors within this image. So obviously I can't work with just one rectangle here. So the Illustrator trick I'm about to show you is going to help us break this rectangle up into several different pieces. That way each of those pieces gets a different color from this image specifically. So after making our rectangle, I'm going to go up here to Object, go to Path, and then go to Split into Grid. And then this window comes up. So if you're familiar with how to create margins and columns in Adobe InDesign, this window works somewhat similar to that. So within this rectangle here, you can specify the amount of rows and columns you can generate. So rows I'm not going to make, but columns, I'm going to divide this rectangle up into 6 different columns. So right here it's set to one big rectangle, one big column. So making sure my preview checkbox is on, so that way I can see what I'm doing as I go before I hit the OK button. I'm going to go up here to columns, and I'm going to set that to 6. Or if you have a specified number of columns that you want to make out of this rectangle, then put that into this box that I have selected right here. So in my case, I'm going to put the number 6 in, so number 6. And you can now see that my rectangle is split into 6 equal pieces. But what if I want to space each of those pieces out? Like I don't want them all close together. So there's an option just below this called Gutter. And if you're familiar with how to create margins and columns in Adobe InDesign, then Gutter would be the spacing in between each column. So you can specify that by clicking these arrows, or if you have a specific amount, you can put that into this box as well. But with me, I'm just going to adjust it by clicking these up and down arrows here. And with preview still on, I can see what I'm doing. And I can see if I'm satisfied with the spacing. And there we go. So I set it to 10 pixels and this is what it looks like. And that's looking okay. So as you change this gutter setting, the width, this setting will also change. But this is specifying the width by pixels, the width of each of these divided spaces. So you don't really have to mess with that. But again, if you have a specified amount for each of these divided pieces, then by all means, you put that into this box. And then down here where it says total, that's going to be the total width of the entire rectangle, which I'm not going to mess with either. So I'm going to hit OK after I'm satisfied with all my changes. And if I take my arrow tool and just play around with one of these boxes, you can see that each box or each piece of this rectangle is now its own shape. And a little later into this video, I'll be applying different colors to each of these boxes or pieces now. But the point is, we got a lot of separate shapes that we can apply different colors to. So now what we can do is select one of these shapes here. I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool and just select the color out of this image here, or anywhere else in your document actually. So with me, I'm going to select this pinkish purple. And you can see that the color of this little piece right here is formatted to the color that I selected up here in this image. But there is a way to pixelate your image and you can generate colors from that. So what I'm going to do is click on this image, then I'm going to go to Object, and then go down to where it says Create Object Mosaic. And that button really speaks for itself, because if you know what a mosaic is, then it'll create a mosaic out of this image. So I'm going to click here. So these settings at the top, you can really change the size of the image after the mosaic generates. So the current size would be set right here, the current size of the image in pixels, and then in the little box that's next to it, you can change that size to a specific number if you want. I'm not going to mess with that because I want this image to stay the same size. And then in tile spacing, if you want the tiles to be spaced out from each other when the mosaic generates, then you would put those specifications here. So since I'm dealing with a rectangle image, I'm going to set the width to about 20 tiles. And then the height, I'm going to keep it at 10. So you can set the amount of tiles by width and height. You can set those to whatever you want. But if I go down here to options, make sure color is on, because that's the whole purpose of this video, is to generate a color palette. And then the rest of these settings we're not going to mess with, so I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see that Illustrator generated a mosaic from this image. And each of these tiles are all in a group together. So if you want to ungroup them and have them be on its own, then you can hit this little button that says ungroup. Or if for some reason that's not there, you can go up here to Object and hit ungroup. But in my case, I'm not going to ungroup any of these tiles, so I'm going to get out of here. And based off the mosaic that Illustrator created for us, we have 200 colors to choose from. And in my specifications, I specified 20 tiles by 10 tiles, and do the math, 20 times 10 is 200. So I have 200 colors to choose from, and I can put 6 of them into these little pieces down here. Or if I want to make a bigger color palette, I can select each of these rectangles that we created from the beginning, and then hold the Option or Alt key to make a copy of them. Then I'm going to select all of them, resize them, like so. But a way to apply the colors to each of these pieces, I'm going to click on just one of these pieces here. I'm going to click on this first one here, and then I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool, which would be right here. And with my eyedropper tool, I'm just going to sample a color from this mosaic here. Like, let me sample this color here. And with that piece that I selected before I selected my eyedropper tool, that color applied to that specific piece. And I can do the same with all these other ones if I want. Like, I'm going to select this second one here, and then go to my eyedropper tool. And then I'm going to select like this dark purple here. And then the rectangle piece that I have selected, it quickly formats to the same color of the tile, because that's what I selected with my eyedropper tool. And then let me do that one more time with this third piece right here. I'm going to click on that, go to my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to sample like this dark blue color here. And there we go. And yeah, that is how you do it. That is how you create color palettes from just about any image in Adobe Illustrator. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to color snow with Copic markers. Now the Copic markers you'll need for this video are a colorless blender. It'll have the number 0 on it, B91, B93, and B95. So with that being said, let's get to it. Because the B91 is kind of like a light mid-tone, but we're using this as like our first shade to like the white. So like try to put it that way. And then we're gonna try to blend that colorless blender into that mid-tone. And see, if you do see a little bit of gray, that's just the colorless blender being wet, because markers are wet media, so it will take time to dry, but it's not necessarily a cool gray. Okay, now we're going to take our B93. Earlier I never determined where the shades are going to be. Let's make the shades on the right hand side. So we're going to make a few more shades here using the B93. And then we can just go in reverse and add the B91 and then blend into the white with the colorless blender. So we're going to take this as B91 and then blend the colorless blender. And when you're using the colorless blender, try not to make a whole lot of watermarks on it, because if you do, then it's not going to come out right. It's not going to be a smooth blend, because then there's going to be a whole lot of marker ink here and there, but basically in places that you really don't want it. So just be careful with that. If you do see a watermark, you can just try to go over that, but try not to apply a lot of ink on it, because then it'll actually stay. So you can kind of smoothen that out if you go over top of it, but not with a whole lot of ink, because that'll just make it worse. Okay, and then if you want, you can go in with your B95 and add very, very little ink to it, because that's where the darkest shades are. So we don't want to apply too much of that B95. And then we're going to blend it back into everything. And do a little bit on this side. And yeah, that's like a smooth blend from a white to a blue and then to a very, very darker blue. So now let me time lapse the rest of the drawing so you guys can see everything with all the blended colors. And when you're finished at this step, it's going to be a whole lot of white spaces here and there, so you'll just see shades on like these sides, and then the rest of it will just be white spaces, and you're trying to fill that entire white space in there. So you can take your B91 and just go over these areas here, add some shades there, and then you can use your colorless blender to kind of blend that back into the actual white. And that way you're kind of providing not a lot of shades, but some shades, some visible shades to that white space, so it wouldn't look empty. And then you can add some more shades at the top as well, and do the same thing by blending with your colorless blender. So that's how you color snow with Copic markers. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to color a plaid pattern with markers and colored pencils. So as you can see on my page here, I have a picture of one of my original characters here, and you know, he's all dressed up, ready to go to a Christmas party or ready for a get-together, or you know, whatever other occasions happening around this time. But the thing is, I have my original character on my page here. I left the coat blank so I can show you guys how to color a plaid pattern. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you guys how to do the plaid pattern, but I'm only going to do it with this arm here. But after I do the arm, I'm going to time lapse the rest of the drawing, so that way you can see the plaid pattern on the entire jacket, and after then you'll see a finished and completed illustration. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. But with that being said, now let me run down the supplies that we're going to need for this video. So as you can see, I'm using markers. I'm using a combination of Copic and 𝐂𝐚𝐝 markers. So the color that I'm going to use to color this plaid pattern, I'm going to start off with just a basic red. So I'm using my Copic R29. I'm using that for the base color. And then as 𝐂𝐚𝐝 colors, I'm using R5, R7, and R8 to get some blending in place. And I'm going to use these just to get the base color of red down. And then to actually add the plaid pattern, I'm going to use a black Copic marker. And this has a brush and a chisel, if you don't know. But I'm going to use the brush tip on this marker. Or if you don't have a Copic black marker, you can also use a Sharpie brush marker or whatever other brush marker you may have. Specifically, I'm using my 110 black Copic marker. And then I also said we're going to be using colored pencils for this video. I'm going to use a combination of Arteza and Prismacolor brand colored pencils. And for the plaid pattern that I'm going to do specifically, I'm going to provide like a red, like I showed you with these markers. And I'm also going to add a black and a yellow stripy pattern to that plaid pattern specifically. So in my case, I'm using a black colored pencil. This is the Arteza brand. And for the yellow, I'm using a Prismacolor brand. The color name is Jasmine. The code is 1012-1012. And I forgot to mention the Arteza one. It's A017, A017, whatever you want to say. But bottom line is I'm using a black colored pencil and a yellow colored pencil to do this plaid pattern along with the reds that I showed you. But that's all the supplies you're going to need. I'm doing this on Canson Bristol paper in case I haven't said it already. Yeah, so that's all the supplies you're gonna need. So let's get started. So what I'm gonna do first is take my Copic R29 and I'm gonna use this and my other reds over here to add a base color and some shades to the entire jacket. Now I know I said I'm only doing the plaid pattern onto the arm here, but I'm just using this red and my other reds to provide a base color. That way when I time lapse the video, I'll already have the base color down. So yeah, I'll be applying that to the entire jacket or coat. So I'm going to do that in time lapse real quick and then I'll come back to you guys and we can begin to add the plaid pattern. Alright, and as you can see, I'm done applying the reds and you can see that I have a little bit of shading in there. So now let me zoom in on the arm specifically so I can show you guys how to create this plaid pattern. Okay, so with my black marker, my black Copic marker, it's number 110. I'm now going to construct some lines that match the angle of the arm. So like say I'm going in the same direction of this sleeve or arm here. And there's a little wrinkle right here, so be mindful of that. And then it's straight down from here. Fix that. And now we have a line that matches the movement of the arm. So we're going to do that again. Going to make another line that matches it. Just a little bit longer in this case. Just fix up that up here. Alright. And then if you want, if you do have some space, you can make another line that probably won't go all the way to the bottom where the wrist is, but you can probably get that in there if you want. Give it a little bit more of a realistic look, but that's optional, okay? So now that we got that in place, we're now gonna make lines that look as if they're rotated 90 degrees. So in my case, I'm now gonna make lines that go straight across like this, but keeping in mind the proportions of the arm. So like that. So we're gonna keep going. And then I got room for one more. And there we go. Alright, so now we can put the black marker to the side for now. And now let me grab my black colored pencil. Again, this is the Arteza brand. And what I'm going to do is make thinner lines with this pencil that kind of surround the lines that we made with our marker. Like, I'm going to take this black colored pencil here. And I'm just going to make a thin line that goes in the same direction of the arm, but it surrounds the black marker line like so. So you can kind of see it. I'm not trying to zoom in any further, but just like that. And when I say surrounds, I mean this black colored pencil, I applied it to the right hand side of this black marker line, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So keeping in mind the wrinkle that I have on my drawing specifically. Alright. And then if you have room, you can do the same thing on the first line that we created. Yeah, I ran out of room. And then you can do the same thing with this other line that doesn't go all the way to the bottom. It'll kind of get cut off right about here, but that's okay. All right, so now we can put the black colored pencil to the side, and now let me grab my yellow colored pencil. Again, this is a Prismacolor brand. The color name is Jasmine, code is 1012. And what I'm gonna do with this colored pencil is I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the black colored pencil, but instead make horizontal lines. Like, I'm gonna apply this colored pencil that surrounds these black lines that go in like a horizontal direction. So like you see where this black line is that I did horizontally, I'm gonna apply this yellow colored pencil around those lines, kind of. Well, I'm gonna show you. So here's where the line is, and here I'm applying the yellow colored pencil like that. Alright, and as you can see, it surrounds this black line that we made with our marker. So that's what I'm going to do with all of these. Like so. And then I have one more to do at the bottom. And there we go. So now let me zoom out so I can show you guys what that looks like on the drawing. And yeah, that's looking pretty good for a plaid pattern. And what you can also do is with your white colored pencil, right here on the contour of the arm, you can begin to add highlights with that. Because apparently this white colored pencil, it's brighter than this yellow one, because I'm seeing more of this than the yellow. But yeah, even on an illustration, you can use the white colored pencil to add highlights like I would normally do in my illustrations. But now what I'm going to do is time lapse the rest of the jacket and apply this same pattern to it, so that way you can see the entire drawing with that same pattern on the jacket. So let me speed through that and I'll be right back. Alright, and there you go. So here is what the illustration looks like now that I applied this plaid pattern to this entire jacket here. And I also applied that same pattern to the bow tie as well, so that way it can all, you know, go together. But let me know in the comments, would y'all flex this at a Christmas party? Please, I'd like to know, because maybe I'll just dress up in plaid for my next Christmas party too. But anyways, that's how you do it. That is how you color a plaid pattern with markers and colored pencils. So what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a ballerina. Now, I like to classify a ballerina as a human figure and a character design. So whenever I'm doing any kind of character design or whatsoever, I always start out by mapping out the movement of the body, which I have here. So as you can see, the figure that I've drawn here is a stick figure, pretty much. And that helps me map out the movement of each part of the body. For example, the arms, the torso, and the legs. So I got that mapped out and everything. But that's what you're gonna need first when doing any kind of character design, or drawing the human figure in general. But in terms of ballet, there's a lot of ballerina poses that you can choose from, so you can pretty much do a different variety of them. But whenever you're doing any kind of poses or whatever, you always gotta map out the movement of each part of the body. And I can't stress that enough, because I know I just repeated it. Because you don't want to go ahead and draw the head of the character and then just begin to draw different parts of the body and figure out where and when they move as you draw it, because then you're forcing a lot of last minute decisions on yourself, which you do not want to do. So that's why it's important to do so. But I already have that done here, and that includes the face as well. But if you do want to learn how to draw the face, I have a lot of different face videos, which I'll link in the description down below, and one of my face videos right up here in the card. But once you have your basic guidelines in place, we're ready to get started. So let's start off with the torso. So let me zoom in some more. Okay. Now these two dots right here will be the shoulders. So I'm gonna mark those as circles for now. And then these two circles down here will be the hips. So we got a shoulder and a hip tilt. Because the shoulders, they go at an incline or a positive slope like this. The hips kind of stay straight. So when we draw the torso of the body, we want to have it pretty much connecting to each dot. But not like this. Because we got to follow the principles of anatomy to make this work. So a better way we can do this is we can draw like a U shape connecting the shoulders like so. And then from one point of the U, we can connect those points back down to the hips. And as you can see, this part of the body is going to be more bent, as you can see from this guideline here in orange. So now, let me take my eraser real quick and erase those. So we're going to add curves to the torso instead of having it like that. Then the waistline will be this part. This is not considered the waistline because those are the hips. The hips will be the waist in a way, but the waistline really starts up here. So that's why I'm gonna call that the waistline. And then connect it back to this dot up here. Okay, and then I'm gonna give her some breasts. Just a quick sketch. And then keeping in mind that it's still at a tilt. So the line that connects the bottom part of the breasts will be at a tilt as well. Because that's the top part of the torso, so that's going to be more at a tilt than it is the bottom part of the torso. And then from here, we're going to go around these two dots. We're going to go around the hips. And then make sort of a parentheses shape. Like so. And then right here where the center line and the hips kind of intersect, like right about here, I'm going to draw a V shape for the crotch. But that's going to be hidden because the ballerina is going to have a dress, so we'll pretty much be erasing that later. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side, but keeping in mind that it is a little bit higher than this point. So this is one part of the leg. The other part we're going to follow this guideline because it overlaps this one. But since it's at a crisscross, it can work either way. And we're going to make this leg at a front view. So I'm going to make two smaller parentheses shapes down here for the kneecaps. And it's going to surround the dot. And then when we draw the other part of the leg, we're going to stop right before then. And then for the bottom of the leg, we're going to start right here. And then we're going to make the calf. We're going to come outwards. And then taper back inwards, but it's not going to come to a point. Because you see how we did this calf? The other side is going to be symmetrical since it's at a front view. Okay, so it looks like the kneecap doesn't really overlap. Okay, now going to the other leg, it looks like the kneecap is covered up by this front leg. So really we can just connect this line back to the knee right here. And now we're still on the other leg. So it's going to be bent backwards a little bit. So you see the curve that we made for this leg? We're going to make an opposite curve for the bottom part of the leg. Because judging from its guideline, it's going to do that. Because the guideline itself kind of looks like it's at a curve too. And if it helps, you can draw right on top of this leg. and then just go from there. Okay, now from this other leg, remember how we did the curve at the calf muscles and then back towards the ankle? We're gonna do the same thing for the other part of this leg. So curve out, curve back in, and boom. Okay, and now for the feet. So the feet is pretty simple. You're pretty much making a curved version of this triangle. So really you can just go around the shape and draw the feet. Okay, now for this other leg, the foot is going to be somewhat different than this one, because this leg is supposed to be at a profile view. So let me get rid of this triangle for a second. So let's draw the foot following this line that we already drew for the leg. And then the toes will kind of be pressing on the floor. So we're going to make a little dent right here for the toes. And then the rest of it should be a foot at a profile view. So to do that, we're going to use our stopping point right here when we drew the other part of the leg. And we're going to begin to make the heel. And then the bridge. And then a curved letter L at the bottom. Like so. Letter L. Yeah. So that's how you do that. And if it helps, you can extend the shape of the toes. Like so. And since we're still down here at the feet, I'm actually going to draw some ballerina shoes. So I'm gonna, I don't know exactly what they're called, but I know what they look like. Well, to describe it, it kind of looks like a sock. And then right above the ankle is gonna be some strips. I guess they're like something to hold it onto the leg, I guess. But if you don't understand what I'm saying, then just follow what I'm doing. But correct me if I'm wrong about the different parts of ballerina shoes. Like, that's not something that I would know. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Crisscross. And then the rest of the shoe, I guess. Oh. And I'll just shade that in real quick. And yeah, so we got the ballerina shoes in place and the rest of the body pretty much drawn. All that's left to do now are the arms. So you see this point here at the neck? I'm gonna make an X right there. That's gonna be where it all begins. So I'm gonna make one short parentheses shape to connect to this dot, which is the shoulder. And then I'm gonna follow the guideline and then I'm gonna try to connect back to the body, but add a little bit more fat over here. And then what we did down here with the leg, where we came out and then back in, we're gonna do the same thing for the other part of the arm, but it might come off the page the way I have it drawn. So I drew those in. Okay, and then now I'm gonna fix this shape real quick. So I'm gonna erase that, and then coming back from the elbow here, I'm gonna come up, and then instead of coming towards this dot, I'm actually gonna come back towards this X that I drew. And yeah, so that's what the arm is supposed to look like. Now let's do the same thing on the other side, but instead our point we probably won't see because the face is covering it. So I'm gonna just draw like an imaginary X and just go around this shoulder point and stop at this first one.
Is in the building,
And yeah. And then it looks like I got a little bit of space to draw a hand movement here. So I'm gonna just quickly draw one in. And I wish I had the same room over here. I'm gonna attempt to get something in. So yeah, that's pretty much how the arms are drawn. And now let me zoom back out so we can see our progress. And yeah, we got us a good looking ballerina. So now what we're gonna do is, if you are into fashion design or whatever, this is the time for you to play. Because you can try out a bunch of different dresses, add some jewelry, dress up your ballerina however you're gonna dress her. But yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do a ballerina dress anyway. So let's go. Now going right up here, just off of the shoulders, I'm gonna make like a piece of elastic, like so, and then I'm gonna come around this line and still hit that X and make like a puff sleeve. See? And don't forget, same thing on the other side. And then right up here where the neckline is, you can follow this center line and draw, I'm gonna draw like a V-neck. I know it's a bit off, but I'm gonna just draw a V-neck, neckline, collar. And this is a million lines all over the place, so I'll just erase some of those right quick. Alright. And then right here is our waistline, so that's where the dress is gonna start. Now, instead of actually starting right there for the dress, so when we draw the dress, we're actually not gonna start at the waistline. We're actually gonna start somewhere else besides the waistline. Instead, what is right here is the piece of elastic for the tutu, or dress, or whatever, skirt. One of the three. So I'm gonna start literally above the torso, and then make a dress that comes out kind of like the same length of this arm. To make it sort of like an umbrella shape. And then let me get my eraser again and erase this portion of the legs. And then since this is supposed to be elastic, I'm gonna add some tension. A little bit of small wrinkles coming out from it to show that there's tension in that area. Okay, and then if you want, instead of having a straight line for the dress, you can actually give it some wavy lines.
𝐂𝐚𝐝 is in the building, nigga.
Then a little bit more tension spots here or there. And now the lines that I'm drawing indicate just some small wrinkles within the dress, and some way to accent it. And then looks like the feet are already drawn. So let's zoom back out. And yeah, we got a good looking ballerina. So all that's left for me to do is the face, but I'm gonna do that in time lapse along with finishing the illustration. So I'm gonna do that and then come back to you guys with some final thoughts and end the video. Alright, and that's how you draw a ballerina. So what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a gingerbread house from start to finish. So first off, since we're drawing a house, we're going to be drawing it in perspective, in 2-point perspective specifically. Now, if you don't know what drawing in 2-point perspective is, I made a video on that which will pop up right here. I would recommend watching that video so you understand some parts that I'm explaining here in this video. But with that being said, let's get to it. So when you're drawing in perspective, you're going to need a ruler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a horizontal line across the page like so. And then on that line, you're going to plot 2 points, and those are going to be our vanishing points. So we're going to plot one here and plot one here. And we're also going to need a vertical line, and that's where both parts of the house kind of intersect, and it looks like it's kind of split in half. But once you see the actual drawing, you'll be able to fully understand what I'm talking about. So we're going to pick a point like right here, and that's where we're going to draw our vertical line. Okay, so now it looks like a T shape with 2 dots on just this one. So next what we're going to do is we're going to pick a point on this vertical line here. Let's see, we're going to make like a dash here. And that's going to be our stopping point for the bottom of the house, and then the stopping point up here for the top of the house. So basically how we're going to draw the house, we're going to be drawing 2 different 3-dimensional shapes. We're going to be drawing like a rectangular prism right here at the bottom, and then sort of like a triangular prism sitting on top of it, making sort of a house shape. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this dot to the dash that we put here. So we're going to connect basically everything together. Okay, and now it kind of looks like a baseball diamond, and that's the way it's supposed to for now actually. But now what we're going to do, we're going to put another dash here, because we're going to be drawing 2 different 3-dimensional shapes. So the stopping point for the rectangular prism will be right here, and we're just going to connect those 2 dots with this dash here. And then we basically have that done. We just got to draw 2 more vertical lines. So let me grab another ruler and then just draw a vertical line just like that. And let's go a little bit further off. I mean, you could have it as like the bottom part of it having to be a cube. You can do that, but I said we're gonna do a rectangular prism. So we're gonna come off a little bit further, making that. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this line, and we're going to make it a little bit longer. Okay, and then between this line and this vertical line here, we're going to draw like a halfway point, but we're not going to exemplify it too much because we don't want it to confuse us later on. So that's how we're going to do it. And this entire square that's up here, that'll help us draw the triangle that's going to be on top of this shape. So we can pick a point on this line wherever we want. Let's pick it like right here. And then we're going to connect this point to here and here, thus creating a triangle. Alright, and then now we can connect this point to this other vanishing point that's over here. Okay, and then this part up here, we can just match the angle that's on this triangle here. It may not be easy, it may not be the exact form, but as long as it's at the same angle, then you should be good. See, so that looks pretty good to me, and the house is pretty much drawn already. So let me grab my eraser, and then we're going to erase most of these lines here. And then I'm gonna take my pencil and make it bold. And what you see me doing here is altering this shape so it kind of gives it a more dynamic look for a gingerbread house, because it's supposed to be like fun looking. If we had it at the straight lines that we drew earlier, then it'd be kind of boring. Add a few curves there. So now with the shape that we wanted to draw initially, it's there. We just combined two of them so it'd be easier. And so we basically drew like a three-dimensional version of just this shape, which I guess doesn't have a name, or at least I never heard of a name for that shape before. But yeah, we just add some dimension to it, that's all. Or like a pentagonal prism, because it has 5 sides basically, or you know, something like that. We just added dimension to it. So now that the house is pretty much drawn, all we have left to do is place everything together, like actually build the gingerbread house, add some features to it that makes it look like a gingerbread house, all that stuff, like the candy, the decorations, and all that stuff. So before we get to adding any other like details to the house, I'm gonna share with you some ideas that I think would look good on a gingerbread house. Okay, so here's some ideas that I have. What I like to use for like the foundation, you can use basically ginger that kind of comes with like a gingerbread house kit if you were to buy one right now. You can use that for the foundation of the house, or the walls basically, or you can use like graham crackers, but since it's a gingerbread house, then you can use ginger and like have it already you know, built to fit like the size of the house or something like that. But if you don't have gingerbread walls, then a graham cracker can be an alternative. And also, most of what I have here is basically for decorations, which you can place pretty much anywhere. Like I have some gumdrops, and I also have like M&M shapes, or the sixlets kind of candy. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like small candies that are like smaller than gumballs, and they have chocolate in them. You can use that as a decoration and make everything a little bit colorful. You can also use like candy canes or like pretzel sticks or whatever for you know, supports. You can put outside the house or whatever, or on the corners of the walls. You can use frosting or icing as like an adhesive to place the candies on the house, because if you have the candy alone, what will be holding it up? That would be like frosting, because it's kind of like super thick and everything. So frosting or icing basically can hold it in place. And if you're planning to make a whole yard and everything, a whole scene with the gingerbread house in the middle, you can use like a lollipop for like a yardstick, because the entire place we're trying to fill with pretty much candy, snacks, or whatever. So if you were to like put a roof together, you can have the graham crackers as the roof, or if you don't want just the graham crackers as the roof, you can put like something over top of it, like say a Hershey's Kiss, or like a chocolate candy or whatever, or maybe marshmallows, or maybe one of these gumdrops, or like one of those or one of those sixlets chocolates that I was talking about. You can have that covering up the graham crackers, but they can just be the foundation of the roof. Everything else I would just use as like a decoration, because that's what it basically is. I'm talking a lot about the graham crackers because they kind of hold the house together. Everything else is just used to decorate everything and make it a little bit colorful, make it fun looking and everything. But yeah, those are some ideas I have for creating the gingerbread house. You can put it together however you want. And also, if you don't like what I have here, then you can always come up with your own thing. It doesn't really matter. But these are just some ideas that I have to throw out there for you guys, and some ideas to help us build the gingerbread house that we're gonna make in this video. So let's get back to the drawing and actually start putting it together. Okay, so what I have here is the same drawing, it's just a bit bigger and everything. The only difference is that there are no vanishing points, so I kind of have to assume whatever lines I'm gonna put here and there and everything. So, because I don't have the vanishing points as a guide anymore, so I just have to assume lines from here on out. But anyway, we got the shape here, and that's all we need. So let's start with the door. This is gonna be the front of the house. Like, if you were to go through the woods and find this house, this will be the front entrance. So we can actually start off by making a pathway, and then in the background we can make sort of a hill. Now that we don't have the horizontal line that we drew earlier, we don't have that anymore, so we can just draw like a hill. It can be sitting on a hill. Okay, and then we can start off drawing the door. Now what kind of candy could be the door? We can make it, you know, a piece of graham crackers, like a square graham cracker, like a full cracker that's been cut in half. That's what we can make. So we can have it like that. but I'm gonna put a knob on it, even though since this graham cracker looks like it's about to split in half, it kind of like opens the door like this, like at a grocery store. So that is gonna be a little bit weird, but it's a door still. It's hard enough to be a door. So like about half of this graham cracker here, we can use for the shutters on this window. I'll draw those in a minute, but that's why I had to move this over a bit, you know, and stuff like that. So just give it a little bit of dimension. Not sure if you can see that, but there's some dimension on the graham crackers. Not much, but it's there. Okay, now what can we do next? Now, we don't necessarily have to make the walls look like graham crackers. So that can be just regular ginger. And the same with the roof. We can make that into a graham cracker if we like, and then just have something over top of it. You know what, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. We can make it a graham cracker. The rest of the walls can be, gingerbread. And then the roof can be another piece of, another graham cracker, fully made graham cracker. So just divide it into 4 pieces. We can make it into frosting. If you want, we can just add like a small detail here, and then later on we can just make that into frosting. And then to kind of fill that space, we can add like a chocolate drop and just draw some on the other side. And in the middle, we can either add marshmallows or maybe, let's say, it's one of those 6-less candies actually. And remember to make it kind of slanted because that's how the roof looks. Okay, and then now in these spaces, we can add those 6-less candies. And then we can worry about the frosting and everything later, adding detail to that. We can do that later. Okay, and we can also do the same thing on the other side. You won't see much, so I'm just gonna add like a small detail here, as if there were the same 3 chocolate drops on this side, and also the graham cracker. So now we got the rest of the house to decorate anything we want. So let's go up here and we can add like a giant mint, and then to draw a mint, just make a circle and draw like a little dot in the middle, and then make sort of like an S curve there. Then come behind this one, make another S curve going past the dot, also going behind this one, and then do the same thing on the bottom. We'll just draw a line that's right here to kind of separate the top of the house from the door, and maybe some frosting up here to kind of adhere the graham crackers to the top of the house. And then what I'm gonna do is at the bottom here, we can try to add some like gumdrops in the place of flowers, because we can use gumdrops as a decoration. Because they're so colorful, they can take the place of flowers. We can add more chocolate drops along here, but not a whole lot, but we can make them as big as the gumdrops that are here. So we can just do what we did up here and just make 3 of them since they're large in size. And then one of these gumdrops I can just add to the back. You won't see much of it, but it's there. Add like a small little 6-slit right here, and then with some frosting to adhere it to the wall. And then another detail that I want to add, I'm gonna try to add this line in here. We can add like a small texture with like make it look like bricks that's down here, but it'll still be like the gingerbread that's holding it together. So it won't necessarily be bricks. It'll just be but it'll look like, so it won't necessarily be bricks. It'll just be the same gingerbread, but the bricks will kind of look like they're carved into the gingerbread. So so when we go to color it, we won't give it a different color because it'll still be. Okay, now we can get rid of this line. Now all we gotta do is just give it the same color as the gingerbread, but give the bricks a different dimension a little bit. Have it sticking out a little bit. We go to color it, but we won't talk too much about that right now. And then over here, you can add like a candy cane, like a giant candy cane sticking up. Just add like more 6-slits, just to add like a little bit more of a decoration to it. Don't forget the frosting or icing to adhere them to the wall. Let's fix this shape a bit, and do the same thing to the knob. Forgot to mention that earlier. But also, we don't have to necessarily include every kind of candy, even though what I'm about to do is a bad example. But we can add like marshmallows along the pathway, just like this, which will kind of like lead to the house. And then maybe some like circles. I don't know what these could be. Let's just call them rocks for now, because this is This is taking place in a forest, or at least a mythical, magical forest or whatever. So we're gonna just call those rocks for now. That's the only thing not candy in this picture. Alright, and that is looking good. The gingerbread house is looking pretty good. So now that the gingerbread house is pretty much complete, I'm gonna ink it so you guys can get a better look at it. And then we're gonna switch to some color to bring out the fun in this piece.
Kane is in the building, nigga.
And again, you don't have to match the colors and everything that I'm using. You can use any colors that you want. Same with the candies that I'm using. You don't have to necessarily use the ones that I'm using. You can use any kind of candy that you want, any kind of combination that you want to use. That's totally up to you. But anyways, that's my video on how to draw a gingerbread house from start to finish. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to make your subject or your characters fit in with the colors of the background. Now, as you can see, I have a painting of a jungle here. This is the Equatorial Jungle by Henri Rousseau. And then I have another painting over here, and I'll show you how to do the same thing. But this painting is called Lava Court Under Snow by Claude Monet. But let's jump to the jungle one so I can show you guys what's going on here. So as you can see, I have one of my original characters here. She's all inked and colored and everything. I did that in Procreate, exported it as a PNG, then imported it into this Photoshop document. But notice all the colors of this character. You see there's lots of saturated colors like yellows, there's pinks and blues and all that stuff. So it's really obvious that she's the main focus of this document. So what I'm going for is trying to show viewers that this character belongs in the scene, but kind of merging the colors of the character with the colors of the background. Of course, I could recolor this entire character into Procreate and export it into Photoshop again, but I'm not doing that because that's the hard way. But there's a feature in Photoshop that allows you to do that easily, and I'm going to show you what that is. So first, I'm going to take this character, I'm going to rasterize this layer first. Okay, and now we're going to click on her again. So having this character selected, I'm going to go up here to Image. I'm going to go to Adjustments. And I'm going to go all the way down till I see Match Color. And then this little window pops up. So image options we're going to focus on in a minute, but let's go down here to Image Statistics first. So right here is a drop box that says Source. The source would be the Photoshop document that the layer is on, that I want there to be a color reference from. So under source is going to be Equatorial Jungle and Lava Core under Snow. But since we're working with Equatorial Jungle, we're going to click on Equatorial Jungle. And then underneath it will be another drop box that says layer. Which layer in this document do you want there to be a color reference from? So since I have my subject or character selected already, I want Photoshop to know that I want the colors of the jungle or the layer that's underneath it to merge with my character. So under layer, I'm going to click on background because that's where this jungle is, the background layer. So I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, there's a big difference going on. So based on all the greens that are in the background, they really kind of merged with the colors of my character. But maybe you don't want the character to be all the way green. So that's why you can come up here to image options, and then you can just play around with all these different toolbars. Right here will be luminance, and that will be the brightness of it. And I have preview on so I can show you guys what each one does. So under luminance, 0 would be the darkest, 200 would be the lightest. And then right beneath it would be color intensity, and that would relate to saturation. How saturated or how rich do you want the colors of your character to be? Again, you can just play around with that. 200 will be the most saturated. 0 would be very desaturated. So we're gonna leave it at 100 for now, but again, we can play around with this, so I'm not gonna leave it exactly like that. And then this last bar will be fade. How well do you want the colors of the background to merge with the colors of your character? Obviously, I don't want my character to be all the way green, so that's why I can play around with this. So I'm gonna take this and move it all the way over here. And now the character looks the way she did when I imported her into this document. But we don't want that either. So let's move it to about 50. And see, now the character looks half green. Because looking at the painting itself, it's mostly green too. And because we made my character half green, now she looks as if she fits into this jungle picture. So I'm gonna hit OK after being satisfied with all my changes. So let me jump to the other document so I can show you guys how to do the same thing but with a different set of colors. Alright, so as you can see, I have two characters here in this winter scene. Again, this is by Claude Monet. The painting name is Lava Court Under Snow. And now looking at the painting, you can see that it has a lot of light blue and whitish colors. Well, Monet was an impressionist painter, so he uses a lot of light colors in his paintings. But in this snowy and wintry kind of scene, there's bound to be a lot of blues and there's bound to be a lot of lighter blues. But now after looking at the painting, when we go to match the colors for my characters, we can expect to see a lot of blue colors, pale colors, desaturated colors, and things like that. But now let's go to see if our prediction was right. So let's select the layer or the characters, go up here to image, adjustments, match color, and then this window pops up. So first we're going to go to image statistics. Our source would be which document, and now we're in Lava Court Under Snow, so we're going to select that. And which layer do we want there to be color reference from? So instead of two characters, we're going to click on background, and notice how the colors of the characters changed so that way it matches the background. And like we stated, we see a lot of desaturated colors, some sorts of blues, and a very pale color scheme. So let's move this back up. And now we can play around with these image options. But first, I don't want these characters to be exactly inside the background. So that's why I'm going to play around with this toolbar. I think right here would be a good spot, because I still see some of the original colors of the characters, but it's also kind of merging with the colors of the background. And that's exactly what I'm going for, because I don't want to go too pale or too original. I want to go about halfway, or somewhere close to the halfway point, something like that. But now let's play around with some of these other toolbars. So here's luminance, color intensity. All you're really doing with that setting is making the characters kind of stand out within the background. But that was already done when I imported it at first. And now once I'm satisfied with my changes, I can hit OK. And here's what the colors look like on my characters after applying this effect. And now let's go back to the other one so I can show you guys what that looks like as well. And see how nice that looks? So that's why I like the color match tool, because it helps choose colors for me. That way if I'm using one set of colors for my characters and a whole nother set of colors for the background, the color match tool helps merge those two colors so that way the characters or the subjects really fit into the background or scene which I'm creating. But yeah, that's how you do it. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Cadillac Cartoons, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a dress. Now I have a sketch of one of my original characters here, and we're going to use this as a fashion template to help us draw a dress. So let's get started. So as you can see, I have the face and specific hairstyle drawn for my original character. But if you do want to learn how to draw the face, I'll give you a link to a playlist right here. And that has all my how to draw face videos. And I'll also drop a playlist right here too called Cadillac's Barbershop and Hair Salon. And that playlist features all my how to draw hair videos. So check those two playlists out. They will also be in the description. But like I said, we're not going to mess with the hair and face today. So we can just skip those and we're going to move down and start at the torso. So the kind of dress that I'm going to draw in this video is called a mid-calf dress. So if I go down to the legs, the mid-calf dress would stop just below the knees. Like right here is the calves, and the dress is going to stop at like the midpoint of the calf, so right about here. But let's come back to the torso and start there. So the first part of this dress is going to be long sleeve, but for the collar I'm going to give her like a V-neck. So like a V-neck shirt. Like that, and then we can finish the torso because it's already drawn, because again this is a fashion template. We're going to follow these lines and we're going to stop at the waistline, which is right here. So I'm going to draw a line there, and that's the actual torso, but we got to do the arms too. So the kind of sleeves that I'm going to draw for this dress is called a circular flounce. So coming off of the shirt, it's going to stop right here at the elbow. But to complete the sleeve, it's going to look like it's a dress for the arm. I'll show you. So it's going to stop right here at the elbow, and we're going to make some sort of fabric, some loose fabric coming towards the hand. So it's going to start here at the elbow, I'm going to make that into what looks like a dress, but not exactly. Just like a dress for the arms, kind of. Okay, and then from the elbow we can add a couple lines to do the same thing as the contours, to add some sort of wrinkles like that. And then let me see if I can erase these guidelines of the arm, because we won't be able to see that. Of course, if this is transparent when you go to color it, then you can leave some lines for the arm, but I want to erase them so that way we can like fully see this part of the sleeve. Hopefully that's a better result, but yeah, that's a circular flounce sleeve. So let me do the same thing to the other arm. So let's draw a line on the elbow. We can complete the arm, or the one arm, and then the forearm. So again, it's going to be like a dress for the arm, and this part of the sleeve is going to be hanging down because it's kind of loose as it gets towards the hand. So I'm just going to make a couple curves like this, come back up, like that, and then the top portion of that will be resting on the forearm like that. And then let me darken these lines a little bit. Let me erase the forearm, the guideline for the forearm, and then we can come off of the elbow and make some wrinkles. Gonna be kind of loose down here, but then right here we can add a little bit of shading, just color that portion in, because that's the inside of the dress, which we're not going to worry too much about. But yeah, this part down here will be hanging off the arm. Okay, so that's the torso part of the dress. Now let's move down a little bit and draw the actual dress. So like I said, it's going to be a mid-calf dress, so it's going to stop right about here, just below the knees. So I'm going to draw a little line down there, a straight line. Okay, and then coming off of the waistline, we can begin to make the dress. So I'm going to first start off making it like a top bun of a hamburger shape, kind of the same shape I used to make the eyes.
but not exactly because we'll be altering the shape later. So again, top bun of a hamburger. Or section cup shape, however you want to look at it. Okay, so that's the dress thus far. So again, coming off of the torso, we're going to begin following the contours that we just made, but we're going to make more curves as we get towards the bottom. So now you can see that I'm making some sort of an S curve, something like this for the dress. Okay, let me erase these some more. And we're going to make a curve like this. Okay, and a curve that goes in the opposite direction. And then from there, you can make a lot of wavy lines. Okay, and then this same S curve that we made over here, we're going to do it over here as well on the other side. The hand is kind of in the way, so you gotta like maneuver around that. Okay, and then I'm just gonna darken these wavy lines down here. Okay, and at the bottom of the dress, I'm actually gonna have a couple of alternating wavy lines like this, and then I'm gonna shade that in to add some sort of perspective to the drawing. Show that there's another part to the dress, the back of the dress specifically. So I'm just gonna make another wavy line down here, color that in. Like that. And then let's do the same thing to our first curve over here. And there we go. Now let me take my eraser and try to erase the legs. Okay, so now we can't see much of the legs now. And that gives us enough room to add some wrinkles to the dress. So most of the wrinkles will be up here because that's more of a tension spot. The tension spot is where the fabric kind of gets tight. Like up here where the dress kind of attaches to the bottom of the torso or the waistline. That's a lot of tension there, so we can add a lot of wrinkles or wavy lines coming from there. Like that. Small line, big line. And since this dress is wavy at the bottom, we can add more lines along the dress, going all the way to the bottom. And there, we got us a good looking dress. It kind of does look like a jellyfish in a way, don't you think? Look at it. Looks kind of like a jellyfish. I just thought of that. Anyway, we're gonna move lower and draw some shoes. Now for this template, I actually have the shoes already drawn here, but I'm gonna draw the shoes a little bit differently. So right now they look like I don't know the name of it. I think it's called flats. Just some shoes that you can slip on. But I'm gonna make them look somewhat different. Just a little different. But if you're doing this with me, you can add any kind of shoes that you want. You can actually give your princess, I want to say, you can give her some sneakers. Like, do you as an artist or a fashion designer? Anything is possible. Give your character any kind of shoes, which is what I'm doing here. And there we go. So I'm not going to shade them in, even though I was just about to. But let's zoom out so I can show you guys what we have so far. And yeah, that's what our character looks like after finishing the dress plus the shoes. So at this stage, you can add any other accessories like jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, or tattoos even to your character. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the neck. I'm going to draw in like a little amulet. Or a necklace in a way. Draw like a little choker up here. with like a little amulet hanging from it. And since I drew a V-neck on this character, it kind of fits in. Just snaps right into place. I know that kind of doesn't make sense, but it's okay to put it there, basically. But yeah, I already have an earring on my character, so I'm just draw that in so you guys can see that. And then if you have room to add bracelets or a ring to the character's hands, feel free. Like I said, as an artist, you can do you. Make your character as unique as you want. But after finishing adding any accessories that you want, you're pretty much done. So what I'm gonna do in this video is ink this drawing, give it some color, and then come back to you guys and show you what that looks like. And I'm gonna do that in time lapse so I don't make the video super long. So let's go. Alright, and here's what my drawing looks like after it's finished being colored. And that right there is how you draw a dress. So, if you liked the video or if you found it useful, give it a like and a comment, subscribe if you haven't, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And I'll see you in my next video.
I got my nigga like pancake.